Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And today we're talking about delegating, everybody's favorite or least favorite topic, depending on where you fall on that. But we're talking about delegating for success, specifically leveraging VAs. And I'm excited for this conversation because not only are we going to learn how to delegate for success, but what to delegate. And I have an amazing guest lined up here, Renee Hastings. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Brandon. It's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here today.
So we're talking about delegating. And you shared some things before we started recording that made me more excited. You said you help people understand what to delegate, not just say, hire a VA and delegate everything. So let's start there because I've not had this conversation with a lot of people. Most people just say, oh, I just need to hire a VA and get everything off my plate. So where do you start with your clients to understand what they should delegate?
Well, that's a great question, Brandon. Thank you so much for it. And one of the things that we do when we first engage with a potential new client, we talk to them about what their current needs are. What is it specifically that's keeping them from being able to focus on their bottom line? Are they checking their email too much? Are they trying to schedule their own meetings with other people who are just as busy as they are? Are they, trying to make travel arrangements and calling airlines and hotels and making bookings, things like that? If they're spending their time doing those sorts of things and they're not adding value to the bottom line of the company, then that's certainly some of the things that they can delegate, take off of their plate, give that to someone who not only loves to do it, but can do it well and can do it quickly and can partner with them to lighten their load. Those are just a few, just a couple of the things that can be delegated. There are so many other things. When people are starting businesses, they may hire financial managers, people to take over their finances. They hire attorneys to help them get the business set up and that sort of thing. So certainly if they can delegate those types of things, they can also delegate these other things. So it's actually just a matter of trust. And it's a matter of just being able to let go and not feeling like they have to control every single thing to free themselves. And in order for them to be free and to scale and move up to that next level, they have to be able to release and allow themselves to be served in this way.
Yeah. So, where do you start with people on that process too? Because it's one thing to say like, okay, I don't want to book my own travel or hotels and stuff like that. But then there's the flip side of it saying like, oh, but what if I don't get a good seat? What if I don't get a good room in the hotel and I'm unhappy on my stay? It's that you said it, it's the trust piece and actually enabling someone else to go ahead and do that for you. So how do you help people through that transition? Maybe it's someone who, could be solopreneur, could be executive with 40 people underneath them, but they've never thought about whatever they're delegating as something that someone else could do. That's a big step. How do you help people over that step?
Absolutely. And that is basically just a matter of communication. So they know they have these desires in their heart, in their heart of hearts. They have these desires to not have to do these things. So if they can communicate what exactly it is that they need to have done and share that. So most of our clients have frequent flyer numbers or they have frequent hotel numbers, memberships and subscriptions and things like that. They have travel preferences. Like you said, some people like the aisle in the front of the plane. Some people like the window in the back of the plane. Some people want to sit on the wing. We make a note of all of these specific details that pertain to our clients' desires, their needs, their wants, and that's what we make happen. So once we become aware of all the different preferences, that doesn't just go away. That's something we log for ourselves as our client Bible, for lack of a better word, where we keep all the specifics about our clients so that we know when they're getting ready to travel, which is their airline preference, all of the specifics that pertain to them so that when they get there, all the arrangements are made. It's all kept in their calendar so that it's super convenient for them. And so it's just a matter of training. I guess the bottom line of it all is communication and training. You can't expect someone to do something for you if you haven't communicated to them that this is what you want to have done and this is how you like it. Because we're good at what we do, but we're not mind readers. So, and what one executive may love, another one may absolutely hate. And so that's why communication, you cannot over communicate when you have a virtual assistant. And once you've made your desires known, a good virtual assistant won't make you repeat that because they'll have written it down and kept it for themselves so that they'll know how to best serve you.
That's noteworthy right there, because that should be part of your hiring process and training internal and external employees, is keeping a record of things so that you don't have to ask repeat questions. I want to clarify something though before we move on, because I think the training piece is also really, really valuable. Did you say some of your clients like sitting in the back of the plane? Did I hear that right?
Can you believe that? Like, really? It's so bumpy back there, but hey, if you like it, I love it.
But you need to fire those clients immediately. All jokes aside though. So yes, we all have our preferences. So Renee, you know not to put me on a plane in behind the wing. But anyway, the training, the onboarding, the process behind all of this stuff, obviously important. And that's where I know I've messed it up in the past. And it's thinking, oh, I just outsourced whatever it is, whatever we're talking about, to a VA, they'll get it. So what is the best way to hire, onboard, and train a VA so that you have that ongoing success? And the word you used prior to recording was relationship, which is really how we should be viewing this. But how do you see that process going, and what do you do in your company to make sure that your VAs have great relationships with the executives?
Well, thank you so much for that question. I love it because one of the things that's so important to me when I'm hiring team members is to know and understand that their values, our values, resonate with their values. And that when our values are a match, then I know that I can trust them. I know that they're going to be honest. I know they're going to be dependable. I know that they're going to be trustworthy, because that's the kind of the core values of Executive Help Now. And so the same goes for when I'm making a match to a client, or when a client is considering, or someone is considering hiring a virtual assistant. It's important that they find someone whose values resonate with their core values, who they are as a person, how they operate, their personality, that sort of thing. Sometimes people go to different agencies looking for someone who maybe someone was referred to them by someone else. And usually when someone is a referral from someone else, they feel a little bit better about bringing them on or taking them up on such a suggestion. But it's just important to find someone that really not only has the skills that you need and the experience that you need, but also values the things that you value. Also, when you're conducting the interviews, ask those questions. Why are you here? What brought you here? What's important to you? See if there is a relationship that can be developed even in this short amount of time. Does your spirit kind of, resonate with their spirit? Or are they giving you vibes that are like, no, I just can't. And so that comes out quickly in the interview process. But taking time to interview takes time, and that can make some executives feel a little bit overwhelmed as well. And so when you hire an agency like, Executive Help Now, then those are some other things that we can also take off your plate and do all that pre-screening so you don't have to waste your time with people who aren't a good fit.
Yeah, that makes sense. And something else I'm curious about too, because, well, let me ask this first. How many different executives do your VAs tend to work with at one time?
It depends on the workload. So if one executive has, enough work to keep that VA busy for, the amount of time that they want to be busy, then they just have the one. If it takes two or three, then they'll support two or three. But one of the things I love about our relationships that we've developed with our clients is that they they know we have other clients, but they don't feel it because we make each individual client feel like they're the only one.
Yeah, and that's super cool to me because I I would assume a lot of your VAs have are working with multiple clients. How do
Mhm.
you on your side, like in your company, how do you keep that so organized, make the VAs available when they're needed, and also make that client feel like they're the only client that that person is servicing?
Well, it really is a matter of when I'm making the match, that's my job in the company is to make the matches. And so when I know a client's personality or I know their needs or what they're trying to get done, if they need a social media manager or if they need an admin or whatever it is that they need, and I assess my team. So we have as a resource to us a whole list of not only the team members, but what their specialties are that they specialize in. So that when I'm looking for certain things, I just have one place where I have to go to look to see who all has this. And then once I see who has the skills, and then I determine who has the capacity. And so it's something that I stay on top of because of my relationships with them. We meet weekly. I ask them the question, how's your workload? How are you feeling? Can you take on more? If we have another client who needs some support, can you help them out? So it's an option that I present to them that, if they have the ability and the time and the capacity and the skill, then they'll say yes, and I'll make the match and schedule the meet and greet.
I don't see a lot of people doing that even with their own staff about, capacity, what they can handle.
Mm.
Um, so for you, what do those meetings look like? Like, what are you really focused on? Because I'm sure a lot of it is reading between the lines if someone's stressed or overworked.
Mhm.
And it's even harder because they're working for someone else technically. So how do you structure those conversations with your team members?
So, like I said, we meet weekly, and because I really care about my team. I really care about their workload. I care about their work-life balance. That's super important. It's one of our core values that I tell my team, it's like, I want your time working with executive help now to be one of the best times of your life. So it's not supposed to be stressful. It's very collaborative and a team environment for sure, so that there is no overwhelm and there is no, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed, because I make sure that doesn't happen because I'm communicating, I'm asking the question, is this too much? Do we need to reassess or reassign? Tell me so we can know, so that this can be a great experience for you, because the relationship I develop with them is for the long haul. I'm not in it just to bring on people and let them go and bring on new people. That's not stable for us. It's not good for business. And so in order to develop that long relationship with us as their employer, or as their, the person hiring them as a contractor, I want it to be long term. And so I want for our clients to also have that longevity and that consistency, because consistency is so key in relationship development. So I just have the conversation every single week. Where are you? What's going on? What's happening? Tell me, and let me know if we need to make some adjustments.
I like that. And now on the flip side too, because you have the executives in the companies that you're working for,
Mhm.
when they're hiring a VA, because I think it's a great option if you don't need somebody full time or like for something really specific. As you grow, their role may grow. How do you balance the that fine line of continuing to hire VAs versus hiring internally? And then on the flip side too, like, do you see an optimal structure? For example, you have a CEO who has an executive assistant, and then they manage a team of VAs doing a number of different tasks. Do you happen to see any sort of structure like that that tends to work long term?
Well, let me see. So when a person has a virtual assistant, and they may have a team of virtual assistants, if it if they're remote, they're working virtually, of course, and there's no need to bring them on into a building or to uh, bring them on as an employee, then I say, if it's not broke, don't fix it, because it's working, right? So, um, there are some times when people say, well, I just need to have somebody that I can see and I can touch, you know, like as I'm walking
Wait,
by.
don't do that. We're not advocating that on this show. That's an HR issue.
Not in that way. I can see them. I can touch their desk as I'm walking by.
Okay, okay, just their desk. That's it.
Just their desk. Yeah, just their desk. But no, but some people may make that decision that that's what's important to them. And so they may switch from going from a virtual assistant to an actual in-house assistant, which is absolutely fine. And if they make that decision because that's what's best for them, we completely support them in that. But our relationship that we have developed with them remains. And I always tell them, if there's ever anything we can do for you now or in the future, keep us in mind because we're always going to be here and situations do change. So whether or not to bring them on, I think is a business decision that most executives will make, when the time comes, or if it is right for them. Just knowing though that with adding employees adds expenses, adds insurance, adds benefits, adds you paying sometimes for hours or work to be done in a block of time that may not actually take all of that time. So that's why a lot of employers opt for a virtual assistant because they don't have to hire a full-time person 8 hours a day if they don't have 8 hours a day worth of work, or maybe even 4 hours a day worth of work. Maybe they just got 1 or 2 hours a day worth of work, and that's all they really need somebody for. That's when you hire someone like us because we're able to handle not only those small time frames, but also the larger ones.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point. And the reason I asked that question, I first heard about this kind of concept of building a team of VAs from the 4 Hour Work Week, which I actually saw on your website. You mentioned that as well. And that's why I was kind of thinking about it, because if you are trying to build that sort of a lifestyle, you managing more people becomes more and more difficult. But if you have that one executive assistant managing the team, that's where you can kind of start to build that structure and have specialized people underneath. Another
Absolutely.
thing I'm curious. Oh, go ahead, please.
No, what I was going to say is, so my first virtual assistant that I hired years ago just stuck by me, and she grew with me, as you were talking about before. And now she is our business operations manager, and she oversees the rest of the team. And so that's how I keep myself free from feeling overwhelmed and overworked as the team continues to grow and grow and grow. But she takes this on and she handles all of the responsibilities and takes care of whatever needs that they have. And so she is like the go-between me and the team. That is super, super helpful and critical to our success.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. One other thing, it's more of a technical question, but I just heard about this recently where I think it was the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. They put a rule in place where any 1099 contractor they could deem as an essential employee in order to deliver your product or service, and basically charge you back taxes for the payroll taxes, employment taxes, all that fun stuff, even though the 1099 is taking care of their own taxes. So my question to you is, how do your VAs get paid? Is it through your agency, or are they 1099s on the sort of the payroll of the client? Because that's kind of this fine line that we have to walk now as business owners. And it's one of those things that I have not met a whole lot of people who are really equipped to handle this if they're utilizing 1099 employees. So how does that work?
Right. So our teams are all contractors. They're all 1099s. And I'm not sure if that FTC ruling is state by state or if it is US versus non-US. I can't imagine it's non-US, but some of our team members are non-US. Most of them are US based. But I think that when the business owner, if it does apply to them, it's something that their tax person who handles their taxes should discuss with them and determine whether or not they need to make conversions and if any back taxes are due. That's not something that I'm very familiar with.
That's a fair response. Yeah, I was curious when I heard that rule. It was for US based employees who are paid as a 1099 contractor. Basically, the argument is just that they wanted more people as W-2 employees because they felt that the 1099s were getting screwed in some sense somehow. I don't know how all these things work, but it's that fine line, right? Of like,
Right.
we're using them as a 1099 for a reason. Like both parties have agreed to that.
Right.
How can you place that rule? So one of those
Right.
little nuances.
Yeah, and if they're paying their taxes and I'm paying my taxes, then nobody's missing out on anything. So I don't understand what the issue is.
One more reason to tax people. That's what we need, right?
Right.
Different episode for a different day. But no, Renee,
Right.
this is awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And what do you have for the audience to dive a little bit deeper on delegation and utilizing VAs?
So I have a little flip book that we put together called "What Can a Virtual Assistant Do for You?" And it is basically a list to kind of be a thought provoker or to trigger some thoughts as you're thinking about your business, as you're thinking about where you want to go in your business and what it's going to take to get there. These are just some high level tasks that you can take off your plate to delegate to someone else. And if there's something in that book that's missing that you think you might need, I would welcome a conversation.
That's so awesome. We'll put a link to that down below, along with Renee's website. You can check out all her resources. She's got a number of things down there. Renee, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Brandon. It's been great.
For those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, go check it out again down below in the show notes. And also subscribe. We want to make sure that you don't miss an episode of Harmonious at Lunch. We put these episodes on every single day of the week to help you just think differently about your business, grow your business that little bit, and build a harmonious business and lifestyle. That's the whole goal. We'll see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Thanks for being here.